close enough? All right. I had some friends that would turn my back to the audience too, because they'd say that that's my best side. Okay, I appreciate all of y'all coming out. I've heard some great information and met some great people. I am Dr. Perry Sanders. I'm, as she mentioned, serving as a research analyst for the Langston University Rehabilitation Research Training Center for research and capacity building for minority entities. I serve as a co-principal investigator on a project entitled a National Delphi Survey on new immigrating populations, trends, and impacts on the vocational rehabilitation agencies. I serve under the guidance of our research leader at the center, our principal investigator, who is our research director, and the individual that signs my paychecks. Even more important. And Dr. Corey Moore. I'm, as she mentioned, an active member of the tribe of Choctaw Indian Nation. I'm blind and former state rehabilitation agency consumer, a disability rehabilitation researcher with a disability, and a state commissioner, former state commissioner for the Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services. I'm going to speak briefly on the need for rehabilitation researchers in the American Indian tribal colleges and universities. The Native American people are a proud race. They hold true to their traditions, and they hold strong to their spiritual beliefs, which encompass honoring nature, holding the land as sacred. They're true to their people in the community, and as a people, unfortunately, they experience a disproportionately high rate of health and disability issues, ranging from diabetes to alcohol, substance dependency, to heart disease. Person from this traditionally underserved population do experience high rate of health and disability issues, higher than whites or any other ethnic group. For example, 17.1% Native Americans will experience some health and disability issues, compared to 10.4% whites and Hispanic, non-Hispanic whites. 7.9% Hispanics, 4% Asians, and 13.6% African Americans. I hope my statistics were the same as Dr. Moore's repeated. Tribes continuously confront the issues of addiction and physical disabilities, which significantly challenge the success of the rehabilitation outcomes. In many cases, the dual existence of the physical disability and the addiction dependency are seen as a double whammy as far as obstacles in their seeking employment or getting a positive outcome of the rehabilitation experience. The contextual, societal barriers and attitudes such as prejudice, discrimination, many times serves as an impediment toward the Native American people with disabilities in their seeking employment or accessing those vocational rehabilitation services in the community. Disability, mental disability is prevalent among the tribes, particularly among women who experience rape or physical battery, to the tune of 46% of women among the tribes will experience rape or some physical abuse. What kind of psychological impacts does this pose to this particular population? What things can we implement, that methods that could perhaps help this particular target population or other Native Americans with mental disabilities in accessing the employability and career trajectories that would help them in their native communities. These questions, all these questions, certainly are worthy scientific inquiry, along with many other problems or issues that occur on the Native American tribal persons with disabilities in the tribes in getting a positive outcome from the rehabilitation experience. Unfortunately, there is not a high rate of disability researchers coming out of our American Indian tribal colleges and universities. These researchers are not familiar with the cultural nuances among the tribes. They many times participate in the research and studies with the community. However, they do not include the tribal people in the introduction of the study, in the formulation of the research questions, in collecting the data, interpreting, or writing up the reports. Many times the outsider researchers have a difficult time being culturally sensitive, being able to see the Native American people's view through spiritual eyes and prisms of the Native Americans. As a result, it is imperative that we the American Indian Tribal Colleges, university faculty staff of the health and disability areas, the students, and key stakeholders in the community. In inclusion of these parties, perhaps there would not be the question about the validity of the outcomes of the study, and perhaps there would not be a mistrust of the studies which are conducted among their community. Due to these factors that I just mentioned, there has been established a tribal institutional review board which would review the introduction of studies, review the formation and structures, and make recommendations. Another promising adoption of a research approach is called the community-based participatory research and evaluation approach. This model would give more promise in the sense that there's more inclusion of the parties being studied in the research process. So in studying the Native American community, those stakeholders would be involved in the introduction, collecting the data, interpreting the data, in writing up the reports, and hopefully in writing up the reports of the findings, could see how those results could benefit the Native American community by implementing those decision-making, by utilizing the results in the decision-making process. The critical thing is to involve the Native American tribal college and university faculty, scholars, their students, and the key stakeholders in the community, so that the cultural competency that comes with those parties could create some results from the studies that could be beneficial to the lives of the tribal people in their community without the mistrust and questioning the validity of the studies. So in conclusion, it is critical that we do involve those key stakeholders in the research agenda, and perhaps as an outcropping of it, the parties involved in the research perhaps will create an interest that will spur them to consider the possibility of being disability researchers in the future. Not only that, but with the research that's collected under the promising model of the community-based research, participatory research and evaluation model, perhaps it could be very useful in evidence-based decision-making practices that can be implemented by and with the Native American people in the community to those results that would perhaps address relevant needs and concerns to improve the lives of the persons in the Native American community. Are there any questions, comments, interpolations at this point?
I have one.
Okay.
One of the things that, by the way, my name is Olga Olsby. I'm from Jackson State University in Mississippi. And one of the things that I know we've had difficulty with is the outreach to communities of color. And because in Mississippi we tend to think of racial diversity as just, including black and white. We don't think about the other races in our state. And we have a fairly large Choctaw population in Mississippi, around Philadelphia, Mississippi. And it's been really difficult for us to really do the outreach in terms of linking with that community. So I was wondering if you could give some tips or some suggestions in terms of how to really go about doing that outreach. Because everything that you talked about, we know happening, with the people who are on the reservation and around that community. But it's the outreach and the barriers in terms of, I will say to them that, they're not, open to people coming in. And then,
Very tight community.
they would say people are not open to working with us.
Yeah, very tight community. Yeah, you're right. I know when I was involved in my doctoral studies, there were a few who were doing some studies among the Native American people. It was very hard to break into that community. In order to break into that community, you have to have somebody in that community, a respected person of the community. If you can win one over, they are the gateway. They are the gateway, the person that can get you in and win the rest of them over to have the confidence and trust that it will be beneficial. You're right, because of the past mistrust of the researchers, sometimes who were not culturally sensitive to the nuances of the Native American population. There is, and it's a tight community anyway. So that is the key, is to make a relationship, and not a relationship, trying to make a relationship with all of them, but those key stakeholders, the gatekeepers, who you can, they will get you in, rather than you get in. Yes?
Perry, don't close down. It really depends on what it is that you're trying to do outreach around as to the process for being successful. Not just with the Mississippi Band, the Choctaws, but with most Native American tribal units. If it's a formal process, you really need to connect with the tribal leadership, because they can bypass a lot of problems. If it's something where you have to get trust, then utilizing indigenous workers, folks who are community outreach workers within the particular entity, tribal entity, is very important. So it really depends on what kind of outreach you're talking about as to the best process. We saw when we were working with the tribal colleges that if we didn't meet with the tribal leadership, we wouldn't go anywhere. We could not just go straight to the college. That those who were elected to tribal governance were very key to getting in, really inside the institutions, because in many cases they run the institutions, though they're not there. So so it really depends on the outreach. It's the best way to go.
Dr. Saunders?
Yes.
I I just have a request will there be copies of your presentation available to us?
Yeah, I've got a braille copy right here that you can have. Yes. We will.
I feel like the principal sitter. I feel like the principal sitter getting up and saying, "Me a culpa, me a culpa, me a culpa." But will there be copies of this paper made available to people? I mean, I would love
We can make
copies
them.
of it.
Yes.
We'll have all the PowerPoints and speeches by Perry and myself and PowerPoints sent out to all the participants via email.
Yeah, that was very insightful. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and wanting to have the information. Feel like it's significant enough to possess it, so
Well,
no problem.
I was taking notes like crazy, but I can't write as fast as you were speaking. So I think I left out some things I probably wanted to
That's
know.
sure, yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
just good to have. Other questions, comments?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
My name is Charles Williams. I work at West College. I am prior to my being at West College, I worked at the University of Memphis in Memphis, Tennessee, and we have a Native American Choctaw Indian museum. Their archaeological burial ground, and one of the things that we experienced is that prior to the involvement of Native people, some archaeologists had really established the museum without their input. And now, in order for the museum to be successful, we are now working with, had to work with the tribal councils to be able to do this. And it's a whole political thing because, again, of discrimination, racism, a whole series of things. Just having to go back and to redo that whole process, which should have been done on the front end, and to engage the people with what they saw as beneficial. We had burials on display, and of course it's against national policies and laws and so forth. But it's those kinds of things in terms of working with the Native people, is to get them on the front end, as opposed to you going out and designing whatever you're going to do, and do it with them without their involvement. And so I agree with the two comments that were made in terms of how to engage the community.
What part of Mississippi?
I'm sorry, this is the University of Memphis.
Memphis, I said.
In Memphis, Tennessee. However, I'm no longer there. But when I was there, that was one of the critical problems that we faced. I'm now at Russ College, which is a historical black college in Mississippi.
But was that the Choctaw tribe?
Yes, Choctaw. Yeah, it's Choctaw.
You know, if you are thinking about talking to a particular tribe, of course, all the tribes have some diversity among them anyway. And the Choctaw tribes, of course, had the Trail of Tears as well,
Right.
from Mississippi to Oklahoma. And some of them did not, their relatives did not access to the road, weren't put on the road because they were suspicious and didn't submit to that.
Kind of LaFleur, yeah, I'm very familiar with LaFleur. Chief LaFleur who did not submit. That's a whole nother story where there's some division, within the nation around that. But I'm just talking about those who were willing to deal with that museum. Now that it is in existence, we have to engage the council to have input. And so, of course, a lot of things have to be changed, the way things are being
comment on just an observation that when you were talking about getting the buy-in of the tribal leadership, I just found it interesting that that was a very similar experience that Mr. Hopkins actually had in trying to get the program into Langston, that they had to get buy-in by the leadership at Langston before the program took off. So just that as an observation, that similar things would have to be done at HBCUs to get that buy-in.
And like this individual here was talking about earlier, empowerment and becoming involved in and pulling those Native American people into the process to the point that perhaps they become researchers. You know, it comes back to me the statement that I think Dr. Whitaker said yesterday, for us, by us. I thought that was good. And being a part of the research other than as participants or subjects that work their own term subjects. Anything else, comments?
I'd like to respond to Dr. Wesson's follow-up with Dr. Wesson's comment as well. And Dr. Wesson is right on point, and that observation is I concur with that observation, of course, and that's really why, as a part of this agenda, we invited university and college presidents or their delegates, whoever the president at that institution, at that minority entity, wanted to represent them at this meeting. And so we believe that it's absolutely important. It's reflected in the name of the meeting, and that is a buy-in information. We know, based on the work that Mr. Hopkins has done, based on the work that Dr. Atkins has done, we've queried these individuals who have done capacity building in terms of academic programs at minority entities for the past 17, 18 years. And so we know, based on information generated or solicited through an informal research process, that it's key to have the highest level administrators at minority entities buy into what we're trying to do. If we don't have that buy-in from the president, the provost, or the vice president for academic affairs, and the like, then it's not going to be a workable, it's not going to be an optimal situation. So we're very interested in terms of the 6 minority entities that participate in the main study. We're engaging one HBCU, which I will not name the HBCU on the East Coast, engaging their administrators currently in terms of serving as the pilot project, which won't include the 6 additional minority entities, but we're engaging their administrators. So we feel it's critically important to develop that relationship with the presidents, with their provosts, and the like. Although the faculty scholars will be nominated, you all will hear more about the nomination process and the application process. They'll be nominated, they'll actually do the research and do the work, and like the faculty scholars and the research fellows, we're going to need to have buy-in and commitment from the administrators at those 6 institutions, as well as we feel like we have it at the pilot. We've achieved that at the pilot institution at this point. But I just want to follow up with Dr. Wesson's comment and agree totally. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get everybody's working and understanding, working together, pulling in the same direction sometimes. Okay, appreciate it. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Moore or Tish. Tasha? Thank you, Tasha.